The silence enveloped the abandoned village like a fog, thick and heavy. Old, dilapidated houses stood like silent guardians of the past, remembering the times when life was in full swing here. On the edge of the village stood an ancient mansion with a dilapidated facade and clogged windows, behind which a dark secret was hidden. Brave young journalist Anna decided to spend the night in this sinister place. She came to the village to find out the truth about the mysterious disappearances that the locals told about. It was said that the spirits of the past did not find peace and demanded sacrifices. Anna cautiously approached the mansion, feeling the cold seep through her clothes. She opened the creaking door, which gave way with difficulty. The interior was in semi-darkness. The walls were covered with a thick layer of dust and cobwebs. Anna lit a flashlight and headed inside, examining every corner. In one of the rooms, she came across an old diary. Its pages were yellowed and stained, but the text was still readable. The diary told about a family who lived here many years ago. At first, everything was calm, but then strange things started happening in the house. The children of the family disappeared one by one, leaving behind only ominous signs and cold shadows. Anna felt her heart constrict with horror, but she continued to read. The diary described terrifying nights when the walls of the house began to breathe, and moaning voices could be heard from under the floor. Eventually, the family left the house, leaving it to be torn apart by time and ghosts. The creaking of the floorboards made Anna freeze. She looked around but saw no one. Fear began to creep into her mind, but she pulled herself together and moved on. She went up to the second floor, where she found a children's room. In the corner stood an old doll with faded eyes and a torn dress. Anna felt cold hands squeezing her heart. She tried to leave the room, but the door slammed in her face. Panic seized Anna, and she started banging on the door, but it wouldn't budge. A whisper came from the darkness of the room, and the doll slowly turned its head in her direction. Anna screamed, but her scream was drowned out by the rumble that came from under the floor. The floor began to crack, and cold, bony hands appeared out of it, reaching for her. Anna tried to fight back, but the hands were grabbing her harder and harder. Suddenly, everything was plunged into darkness, and she felt herself being pulled down into the icy embrace of darkness. The last thing she heard was ominous laughter and a whisper, "You will never leave this house." The mansion fell silent again, becoming an eternal shelter for another victim. The shadows of the past continued to seek the peace they would never find, and only the chilling chill of their presence reminded them that the house was never empty. Anna found herself in a cold darkness that seemed endless. She felt something moving around her, subtly touching her skin. Suddenly, the darkness receded, and she found herself in an underground room illuminated by the dim light of torches. The ghosts of past victims stood around her, their empty eyes staring straight at her. Anna struggled to her feet, feeling the cold constrain her movements. She realized that this place was a prison for the souls captured by the house. The ghosts were slowly approaching, their whispers getting louder, penetrating her mind. They asked her for help, but Anna didn't know what to do. Suddenly, there was a loud rustle from the back of the room, and a figure in a black cloak appeared in front of Anna. It was the master of the house, the spirit that held all these souls captive. His eyes glittered with an ominous light, and he smiled, showing razor-sharp teeth. Anna felt her fear turn to rage. She understood that she had to find a way to free these souls and herself. Her gaze fell on an ancient altar standing in the corner of the room. There was an old spell book on it, which could be the key to liberation. But the owner of the house was not going to let his victim go so easily. He took a step forward, and the shadows began to swirl around Anna, pulling her into the darkness. She tried desperately to resist, her hands reaching for the book. At the last moment, she grabbed it and began to recite the spell aloud. The words of the ancient spell echoed through the room, and the shadows began to disperse. The owner of the house screamed, his vicious scream filling the air. The ghosts began to disappear, one by one, finding long-awaited peace. Anna felt her own body begin to lose strength. When the spell was over, Anna collapsed to the ground. The owner of the house disappeared, and with him his prison for souls. The underground room began to collapse, stones fell from the ceiling. Anna gathered her last strength and ran to the exit, but her legs gave way treacherously. She fell, her gaze clouded. At the last moment, familiar faces appeared before her eyes, the faces of those who had been freed thanks to her courage. They looked at her gratefully, their images gradually disappearing, leaving her alone in this cold darkness. Silence reigned in the abandoned village, but in the heart of the ancient mansion, behind the veil of time and space, there was one soul that did not find peace. A journalist who gave her life for the liberation of others has become the new keeper of the secrets of this sinister place. Years passed, and rumors began to circulate about the abandoned village again. Residents of the surrounding settlements told about strange sounds and lights that they saw at night. Some claimed to have heard screams and whispers coming from the dark windows of the old mansion. Anna's story became a legend, but her end remained a mystery. One day, a group of paranormal researchers came to the village. They had heard the stories and wanted to find evidence of the existence of ghosts. Among them was a young woman named Victoria, fascinated by the mysticism and mysteries of the past. She felt a strange attraction to this place, as if something invisible was calling her. The group set up camp near the mansion and began preparations for a night study. Victoria couldn't shake the feeling that she had been here before. She carefully studied all the stories related to this place and found a mention of Anna and her last attempt to free souls. Night fell, and the researchers entered the mansion. There was an ominous silence inside, only occasionally broken by the creaking of old floorboards. Victoria held a camera and a lamp in her hands, trying to capture every corner. Suddenly, she heard a faint whisper that called her name. Victoria followed the sound and found herself in the very room where the doll had once been found. She felt her heart begin to beat faster. There was now a strange shadow in the corner of the room where the doll stood. Victoria came closer and saw that it was the image of a woman trapped in a mirror. The woman in the mirror looked at Victoria pleadingly. It was Anna. Victoria felt a sense of compassion and determination sweep over her. She realized that she had to free Anna, but she didn't know how to do it. Victoria remembered the old diary that Anna had found. She started looking for him, hoping to find a clue. In one of the rooms, she came across an old table on which the diary was lying. Flipping through the pages, she found mention of a spell that can free imprisoned souls. Victoria began to recite the spell aloud. The words of the ancient text echoed through the rooms, and the house began to shake. Shadows swirled around her, but she didn't stop. Anna began to disappear in the mirror. Her appearance became more and more transparent. But instead of disappearing, Anna suddenly appeared in front of Victoria, her eyes full of gratitude. She held out her hand and said, "Thanks. You set me free." At the same moment, the house was filled with bright light, and all the ghosts imprisoned here found long-awaited peace. Victoria felt her own body filling with power and light. She realized that she had become a part of something great, and her soul finally found peace. The house was silent again, but this time it was warm and peaceful. After a while, the researchers left the village, telling the whole world about their discovery. But only Victoria knew the real truth. Sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself to free others. And in the heart of the ancient mansion, peace finally came.